forget to subscribe and share.
Hi, I'm Rithini and I'm 10. This is my very first video tutorial series. During recent school vacation, I was able to learn much more about game development and coding. And I wish to share my knowledge with you on the things I've learned. Before we dive in, let's get to know some basics. What is computer programming? A computer program is a collection of instructions that are organized accordingly to get a specific task done on a computer. This is how we tell computers to do stuff that we need. Unlike us, computers can't think, and that's why we need to give these instructions clearly in a way that the computer can understand. For example, let's recall how we were taught to cross the road safely in kindergarten. First, check the right side of the road, then the left and again the right. We cross the road if both ways are free of vehicles. If not, we should repeat from the first step until it's safe to cross. It's exactly like this when it comes to computers too. We need to tell clearly each step it must follow to do our task. With visual programming tools like Scratch and PictoBlox, it's much easier for kids like us to do programming and build very cool stuff like games and interactive animations. All we have to do is drag and drop the instruction blocks and build the program we need. Just like solving a puzzle. Both PictoBlox and Scratch are free. You can ask for an adult's help to download it and install it on your computer. I put the download links in the description below. Today I'll walk you through a visual programming tool and I'll show you its key features. Since PictoBlox and Scratch are very similar, I'm going to use PictoBlox for this video. These visual programming tools are made for kids like us between the ages of 8 and 16. There's no need to type instructions. We just have to drag and drop correct pieces like we solve a jigsaw puzzle. This is a great help for beginners like us. Okay then, let's have a look at PictoBlox. I'll explain all of the key areas of it and explain what they do. Sprites. A sprite is an object or a character in our program. We control these sprites by giving instructions using blocks. The bear you see in this picture is a sprite. He's my friend Toby. They normally have multiple costumes. You can view what costumes Toby has by going into the Costumes tab on the top left. We can change these costumes using blocks to get the appearance we need. This is how we get the walking effect with Toby. The stage. The stage is the area where our sprites perform their actions. We can think of it as our main view. The background of this stage is called the backdrop. We can select any image as the backdrop by clicking the button under the stage section. We also can use blocks to give instructions to the stage if we need it. Blocks and block palette. A block is like a jigsaw puzzle piece. There are different types of blocks available in the block template. All we have to do is drag and drop the block we need from the block palette to the scripting area. The block palette is under the code tab. Blocks in here are grouped based on what they do, and each group has a unique color too. As an example, blocks that can be used to move the sprite are under the motion group. Script area. A script is a piece of code that we write using instruction. But here it is a collection of blocks that we stack. There can be multiple scripts in here, and they all are executed simultaneously by the computer. For example, we can have a script to do this when the start flag is clicked and another script to do some other thing when the space key is pressed. We can give a name to our projects. All we had to do is change the text in the project title text box on the menu bar. The small disk icon next to it is the save icon. Don't forget to save your project from time to time. The green flag you see on the top of the stage is called the Start button. The computer starts to run our program when we press this. If we want to stop the program, we can press the red dot next to it. Today we are going to write our first program. Before that, let me show you some common blocks and what they do. We get an empty project when we open PictoBlox. Toby is added to the project by default. Let's use him to see how we can use blocks. All programs react to some kind of event, may it be the start or some user interaction. So we are going to need these blocks under the events category to create any program. Let's use the when flag click block. So drag it onto the script area. Whatever we stack under this gets executed as soon as we click the green Start button. Let's move on to the motion category. These blocks can control the position, rotation and motion of our sprites. We can use the moving block to move a sprite forward or backward. By changing the value inside it, we can change by how many steps it will move. I hope you are clear about how it's working. Removing blocks that we don't need is also easy. All you have to do is drag and drop them over to the code template. Rotation or turn blocks can rotate our sprites. The value inside is the number of degrees. There are two blocks for clockwise and counterclockwise rotations. You can reset Toby's rotation using the direction control under the stage area. If you want, you can resize the sprite using the size control. X and Y change the position. 0, 0 coordinate represents the center of the stage. All other blocks are very similar. They are named according to the task they do. Let's use them in our future videos. Blocks under the looks category are to change the appearance of the sprite. We can use the save block whenever our sprite wants to say something, and think block for thinking. To change the costumes of our sprites, we use the change costume blocks. They are easy to use. I used the wait block here so I can tell the computer to wait 1 second before executing the next block. This is a very useful block. Show and hide blocks, as the name says, can be used to show and hide the sprites. Blocks related to playing sounds and music are under the sounds category. First, we had to add the sound we need to the sprite using the sound tab. By clicking the select sound button, we can choose the sound we like from the library. Then it will appear inside the block for us to select. The events category has all the starting points of a program. We already know what when flag click block does. Let's try when key press block to tell Toby to say hello when the space key is pressed. First, drag the block onto the script area. Since space key is selected by default, we don't have to change anything. Then we add a say block. Now whenever the space key is pressed, Toby says hello. It's time to create our first program by using the knowledge we gathered. Let's start by removing all the blocks from the project. We need a cool background for this. Let's pick something nice by clicking the Change Backdrop button under the stage. Toby needs to be positioned correctly on the left bottom corner like he is standing on the ground. You can move sprites using your mouse. After adding the when flag click block, we need to use the go to XY block. This instructs the computer to move Toby to his starting position whenever we start our program. We don't have to change the XY values in the block because it's already updated to Toby's current position on the stage. The set rotation style blocks let the computer know that we only intend to turn Toby left or right, not around. Now we can create the script that will enable Toby to walk forward. We use the when key press block for this and we change the key to right arrow. Next, we point Toby in the right direction. Pointing direction block does just that. Remember, 90 degrees is the right side. The opposite side, left, is negative 90 degrees. Now, as we did earlier, we need to switch costumes and move 10 steps at a time. We need to add a small delay by using the wait block. Otherwise, these changes are going to be too quick and unrealistic. Right then, all that is left to teach Toby is how to walk back. This is really easy because we can reuse the same code we did above. Let's duplicate the walking forward script by right-clicking on it and selecting duplicate. Then click on a free area to create a copy of it. Let's change it to walk back. First change the key to left arrow. Then change the pointing direction to the left side or negative 90 degrees. All done. Let's run it and see. Toby moves forward when we press the right arrow key. He turns and walks back when we press the left arrow key. Awesome! Comment below if you have any questions. I'll do my best to help you out. Today we are going to learn about loops. These are grouped under the control section in the code palette. What is a loop? Loops help us to execute the same instructions repeatedly, and these are super useful. Whatever instructions we put inside its body will be executed repeatedly. There are 3 types of loops under the control group. Let's go through them one by one. Repeat loop is useful when we need to repeat a certain set of instructions for a given number of times. For example, if we use a repeat loop with the value of 10 and put a move 10 steps block inside it, it will move Toby 10 steps forward for 10 times. That is 100 steps in total. Forever loop, on the other hand, has no such limit. It will keep repeating until the program stops. As an example, if we put a turn block inside a forever loop, it will keep turning Toby until the program ends. Repeat until loop is very much similar to the repeat loop, but it doesn't have a defined number of cycles. Instead, It will repeat until the given condition becomes true. Let's try it out. Let's use the same example as before, but this time we will use the repeat until block. As the condition, we can use is mouse down block from the sensing group. Let's run this. So the program keeps rotating Toby until we click a mouse button. All these loops exit when they are done except the forever loop. Then the program will execute from the very next block as usual. Time to put this into action. Let's make Toby walk continuously on the stage using loops. If on edge bounce block is used here to automatically turn the sprite if it's touching the edge of the stage. This is very handy. As you can see, loops are very useful when it comes to getting a task done repeatedly. This week, we are going to look at expressions and conditionals. Link to the previous videos is in the description. What are Boolean expressions? What in the world is a Boolean? Don't let the name scare you. Boolean simply means that it can have either one of two values. In this case, true or false. In programming, a Boolean expression is an expression that is either true or false. For example, is the space bar pressed is a Boolean expression. It can only be either true if the button is pressed or false if not. There are many different expression blocks that we can use as conditions. You can find them in sensing and operations groups. It's easy to identify them as they have long diamond shape. The sensing group has everything related to computer inputs and our program state, like the expressions we need to detect key presses. Operators group has all the expressions that we need to compare different values and variables. What are conditionals? Conditionals are powerful statements in programming. They allow us to control the flow of a program based on the conditions we want. These can execute certain sets of instructions if the condition is true or another set if it's false. There are two main conditional blocks under the control group. If-then block is the most basic type of them. It will execute the set of instructions within its body if the expression or condition is true. The if-then-else block takes an extra set of instructions under its body. This set of instructions only get executed if the condition is not true. This is very useful when we need to perform different sets of instructions when the condition is true or false. The best way to understand them is by seeing them in action. Let's start with the start event. We use a forever loop to keep this program running continuously and keep checking our conditions. First, we need an if-then-else statement. We use the key press block from the sensing group to check if the right arrow is pressed. We put the code we need to make Toby move to the right, onto its then section. This will get executed if the condition is true. If the condition is not true, it will execute the else section. Here, we are going to use an if-then block to check whether the left arrow key is pressed. In its then section, we put the code which needs to move Toby to the right if the condition is true. Now let's run this and see. When we press the right arrow, Toby moves to the right. He moves to the left if the left arrow is pressed. Cool.
Variables help us to store temporary data in memory. These are like placeholders for values. We can name these placeholders as we like to help us easily identify their purpose or content. You can find the main blocks related to variables under the variables group. Other groups like sensing also have predefined variables that we can use in our programs. They have a unique elongated circle shape. We can create a new variable by clicking on the Make a Variable button. First, we need to give it a meaningful name. Let's name it Click Count for our purpose. Two options below let you select whether this variable belongs to other sprites in the program as well, or it's only visible to the selected sprite. By clicking the checkbox in front of them allows us to display them on the screen. Let's put them into use. Let's make a small program that counts the number of times we click on the cat. As usual, we start with the start flag event and set the click count variable to 0 right after. Then we are going to use a when this sprite clicked event block. Anything attached to this script only gets executed when we click on the cat. So let's increase the click count variable's value here by 1. Now run this and see. As we click on the cat, the variable keeps increasing. Exciting! We can store any values we need in variables like this and use them in other places within a program. This helps us to change the flow based on their values by using conditional statements. Also, we can use them with loops to repeat instructions and for calculations.
Today let's go through some advanced topics in programming. After this, you will have all the knowledge you need to create real games and cool animations in Scratch. I am going to create a program that picks winners from a list of participants to explain these topics. What are threads? Normally, programs perform actions in a sequence, that is, one instruction after another. When we need to execute multiple instructions at once, we are going to need threads. In Scratch, each script is a single thread, so if we need multiple threads, all we have to do is use multiple head blocks. This way you can get your sprite to do multiple tasks at the same time. This is very useful for game development. I'll use another thread to keep the background music playing continuously. Functions. In Scratch, we call them custom blocks. A function is a set of instructions that we have to execute multiple times from different places. Or they can be a set of instructions that performs a specific task. By using functions, we can move those instructions to a single place. This makes our programs cleaner. We can pass values into these functions if we want. We call them arguments. Let's create a custom block to pick a winner. We need to do the same thing 5 times, so this is an ideal candidate for a function. After creating, all we have to do is to make it do what we need using blocks as we normally do. Time for the next topic, events. Using events, multiple threads or sprites can communicate with each other by passing messages and responding to those messages. An event is like a message from one thread to another. This is useful when you want to trigger something to happen somewhere else in your program. Let's put events into action. I'll announce that I'm going to pick a winner. Let's respond to that event by playing a drum roll from another sprite. How cool is that? To the last topic, list. A list is a collection of variables or values. Each value in the list has an index number, which means we can read modify or remove them easily. These are useful when we need to store multiple values in a single place. In Scratch, we can add values to lists manually using code or import from a text file. We are going to use two lists in this program. One to store a list of participants and another to store winners. After picking a winner, we need to add him to the winners list. It's important to delete him from the participants list to avoid duplicate selection. To make it more fun, let's celebrate after picking a winner. Let's give it a try. You can use this program to pick winners for any raffle draw or giveaway that you host. That's it for this week. I'll be back with a new video next week. Bye bye.
Please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button and click the bell icon. It will help me continue creating videos like this in the future.